Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
TA. We are portaling. We're portaling, baby. We're live here in Tigers Avenue. Boy, oh boy. Do we have a lot to talk about? Goodness.
Just a little bit.
Lots of really good news for the LSU football Tigers in the transfer portal. Obviously, we'll discuss all of the additions. Man, some surprises. There's been some of these that have totally surprised me. Some of them obviously are totally expected. And some of them, like you were saying, okay, they're on the radar. But, man, there's two that just really shocked me. Like, I was not expecting it. And they popped. And I'm glad they did. Every single one of them, all 7 players so far. And it really, Zach, seems like there's certainly going to be more. I think we know there's going to be more because there's still things to be done to address the roster in terms of positions of need. So they're not done. Not done at all. We will continue to see, I think, more players added through the portal. I think LSU is going to finish top 3 at least in the transfer portal rankings this year. Currently, they sit at number 1 with all their additions, just ahead of Ole Miss with the latest edition of Mansour Delane. They jumped Ole Miss, but man, it's been fantastic. And Zach, I think we need to talk a little bit. That will probably be the bulk of our show.
Yeah,
we'll talk a little bit about why you need these players, how you're getting these players, and of course, the players themselves. We'll kind of talk about some people we want, maybe what we want and who we want, as well as a quick update on the basketball teams as well as they continue in the non-conference schedule. We'll give you an update on them as well. So, transfer portal has been popping for LSU. Make no mistake about it. Brian Kelly is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. LSU fans were okay. It's year 3. This year was a bit of a disappointment. If you put the whole year in context, when you think about losing the Heisman Trophy quarterback, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, who, by the way, are balling out in the NFL. Both are top 3 in the rookies for receiving yards this year.
Yeah.
When you think about what you lost offensively last year, coming this year, really a 8-win regular season isn't insane when you're starting a new quarterback for the first time and replacing all that you had to replace in the receiving core. It's not crazy. But again, the expectation here at LSU is to compete for championships.
Yeah.
And, everybody's thought was, well, year 3, Brian Kelly typically pops. And so that was the expectation. And it didn't happen. But that doesn't mean the season was just horrible. I mean, there were great things that we saw. We had a great win over Ole Miss. But here's my point in saying that. Fans were kind of like, okay, we're ready for Brian Kelly to deliver on what he's saying he's come to deliver on. And you had a poor job in the portal last year. It was kind of a poor job in the portal last year.
Yeah, for sure.
You come around to this season and 8 wins, fans aren't satisfied, especially with the way that you lost to Alabama in your own stadium, the way you lost to Florida when you beat them 5 years in a row, and the way that the game blew up in Texas A&M when you had firm control. All of those things, especially when you have a 12-team playoff, you're expecting LSU to get in. Well, it didn't happen, and LSU, I think, had a good enough roster to make the 12-team playoff this year. And so fans are going, okay, we need something to happen. And then, of course, recruiting rolls around. Now, early National Signing Day rolls around, and you lose Bryce Underwood. You lose Cade Phillips. Of course, earlier on, you lost to Corian Moore. These things happen. Jakeem Stewart goes to USC, and everybody's going, all right, what the heck? Everybody's saying, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Brian Kelly heard those cries. He heard the criticism. He understood the expectation and comes out and says, we are going to be very aggressive in the transfer portal. Very aggressive. And we'll talk about the money situation and how maybe some of this is benefiting you because they're being aggressive in the transfer portal and they are backing that up. Because, as you sit right now, you are the most aggressive team in the portal because you've landed the most players and you're sitting atop the rankings. So not only have you landed a lot of players, you've landed a lot of good players in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So you literally, Zach, all 7 players that you've landed, all 7 have started in Power 4 football, have starting experience in Power 4 football.
And either the SEC or the Big Ten.
The SEC, Big Ten, and now, after today, the ACC.
ACC. Yeah.
Some even with multiple years of starting experience. Some of them are 5 stars, recruits coming out of high school, highly touted players. So this is not let's go find Louisiana guys who want to come home.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what this portal search has been. This is not, let's find some guys who've contributed at their schools who have Louisiana ties and we'll bring them home. That's not the plan here. We're saying, let's go locate the best players at our positions of need and bring them in. And that is how they're being aggressive. Now, there's more work to be done. There's positions of need that still need to be met because we haven't hit on some of our biggest struggles from this season in the portal yet. I think we will. But they haven't yet. So let's talk about that, Zach. The players, Zach, the first one that popped was Bauer Sharp, the tight end out of Oklahoma. Obviously, Mason Taylor announced that he is going to draft. I have no complaint about that. I fully understand it. I think he easily could be tight end 1 in this draft.
And for the most part, it was kind of expected, even though there was a lot. There was a lot of talk about.
Yeah, there was talk about several players. But
I think a lot of people expected, especially entering this year, that he would be gone.
Yeah. You were planning on him to be gone, and maybe Colston Loveland goes before him in the draft, but he's going to be top 2 tight end in this NFL draft. He's going to be at a good spot, and he should. He's NFL ready. He is. So I don't blame him. But you lost him. It hurt, but you immediately replaced him with Bauer Sharp, who is from southeastern Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, he's not from there, but he played there. Transferred to Oklahoma 1 year. Led Oklahoma in receptions and receiving yards this year, and now is coming to LSU to fill the spot for 1 year. He only has 1 year of eligibility left.
Yeah.
Was Oklahoma starting tight end all year long. So you land him. The next one, I believe, was Jakeem Stewart that popped. This was kind of expected. Number 3 rated DB in the country when he was coming out of high school, and currently the number 3 rated DB in the portal. Jakeem Jackson, 5-star recruit, was recruited by Corey Raymond to Florida. Everyone expected if he hits the portal, he's probably going to LSU. He hit the portal. He took a visit to LSU. He signed to LSU. Period. Done. You needed good DBs. You just do. You have Stamps coming back. Zy Alexander is gone. You signed DJ Pickett, right? And you bring back PJ Woodland. You really needed another solid DB. Jakeem Jackson certainly adds to that. The next one was one of the biggest ones was Barian Brown, if not the biggest. Barian Brown, consensus 5-star, another one coming out of Nashville, Tennessee, played 3 years at Kentucky, has lived up to the hype. He is currently, as we speak, the all-time leader for the SEC in kickoff returns, Zach, with 5.
Yep.
That leads the SEC history forever. The entirety of the SEC, nobody has returned more kickoffs than Barian Brown. That's another exciting
And
part
I think
of that.
it's a stretch, but if he has, I think it's either 2 or 3 more, it's the all-time record, like in all of college football.
He's electric speed, just a awesome talent. Had 3, impressive years at Kentucky. Look, don't go look at his stats this season and let it scare you. Okay, this is a guy who in LSU's offense is going to thrive.
Yep.
This year, Kentucky was horrendous passing the ball. Horrendous. Brock Vandegrift was really bad. 111th in the country, Kentucky was in passing offense. 111th, an SEC football team in passing this year in college football. They were a horrible passing team. Really because of Brock Vandegrift. Just all around really bad offensive year. So don't let his statistics this year scare you. He's well over 1,000 yards in his career. I believe he has 11 touchdowns receiving in his career, plus the 5 touchdowns that he's returned in special teams. I think he may even have a punt or 2 returned, but I don't know that exactly, but I think he does. This guy in LSU's offense with a veteran quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, who likes to sling the ball, is going to be an absolute problem for anyone who plays against LSU. When you add in Aaron Anderson, Barian Brown, right? Chris Hilton, who's practicing in the bowl game, by the way. People are worried that Chris Hilton was going to hit the portal. He's practicing for the bowl game. He seems like he's in. We'll see. There's another portal window in the spring. But, man, if you have Aaron Anderson, Barian Brown, Chris Hilton, and then, of course, you have guys returning like Kyle Parker coming off of injury. You're bringing in Teron Francis in this recruiting class, and then, of course, Bauer Sharp. You've got a really solid passing game. And by the way, Zach, I don't think we're done with the receiver position in the portal. You've got, Barian Brown is 6'1". Aaron Anderson is shorter than that. You need some length and some size, and I think you're going to get it in the near future. So be on the lookout of that. He was the next one, Barian Brown. Amazing pickup by the Tigers. The next one was Jamari Butler, a defensive edge out of Nebraska. This will be, guys, this is what I'm talking about. This is a 6th-year guy coming in to LSU. 6th year playing college football for LSU this year. Another guy who has starting experience, started all year for Nebraska, had 2 sacks, I believe, this year, had 4 sacks last year, several TFLs, another player who can impact the game immediately. Zach, this is the one More than any of them. More than any of them, Zach. Not Jamari Butler. But the one that popped on Sunday. I did not have Michael Van Buren on my radar at all.
I don't think there was many people that had Michael Van Buren on the radar.
I was not expecting Michael Van Buren to commit to LSU. But
I honestly didn't even know he was in the portal. I had not seen that he had entered.
I knew he was in the portal because I talked to a lot of Mississippi State fans on a regular basis. But man, I literally never had him on the radar. But you think about the year he had at Mississippi State as a true freshman. Year one under a brand new coach.
Thrown into the fire
Because the starting quarterback got injured. You think about the season he had. I mean, he was the bright star for Mississippi State's offense. He you know, the recruiting cycle, like rankings on Michael, were very. I can't remember which recruiting site had him, but like most of them had him unranked nationally, like outside of the top 300, except for one. And the one recruiting ranking that had him ranked had him in like top 60 players in the nation and like the fourth ranked quarterback in his class. But the rest had him outside the top 300. Kind of crazy, like to think of that, like such a drastic, difference. But there were several people that were very high on Michael Van Buren coming out of high school. And it was a big pickup for Mississippi State. And then he comes into his freshman season, Zach, thrown into the fire and throws 1,800, nearly 1,900 yards as a true freshman.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, he was a bright spot for State. Like when you watch the State games, obviously, like the season, did not go anywhere where State fans wanted. But there was a lot of State fans that, when talking with those State fans, they were like, the bright spot is we've got a really good
future
quarterback. And, it sucks now because we got him. Sucks for them, not for us.
I love you. You said go Tigers? Go Tigers. He said go Tigers. He's tired. Love you, buddy. So, Zach, I'll see you in the morning, buddy. I love you. Hey, Zach, almost 1,900 yards as a true freshman in that offense. Year one under Levy. Zach, that's impressive. Not only did he throw for 11 touchdowns, but I'm pretty sure he also rushed for 5. He can move.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Zach, this is a prime, like you needed a solid backup. And this is it. You went and got him. And not only did you go and get him, Zach, now you can let him sit behind Garrett Nussmeier for 1 year, grow in this program, put elite weapons and receivers around this guy. Maybe even let him redshirt if you don't need him. And then after this season, if he's able to take a redshirt, Zach, you could have him for 3 more years. That could bridge the gap to Elijah Haven, the number 1 quarterback in the country who's in Louisiana for the class of 2027. I mean, this was a huge pickup. Huge. This one shocked me. I was not expecting it whatsoever, and it was a big get. I was through the moon about it. The more I thought about it, the more it's made sense to me, and I'm pumped about it. I really
feel like that was a move where it's like, hey, this is next guy up mentality, in my opinion, and
I think that's what they pitched to him.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that. What about Colin Hurley? You still got a guy in Colin Hurley who's extremely young,
Yeah.
and 0 experience. So
0.
you lost Ricky Collins. You still have AJ Swan, but what would you rather have this upcoming year in 2025? Would you
As a
rather have a quarterback room where it's Garrett Nussmeier, your undoubted starter, and then if something happens and he has to go out, you're in a situation like you were against Oklahoma where it's AJ Swan or a extremely young Colin Hurley who doesn't have any experience?
Yeah.
Well, you're in a very similar situation. You were going to be in the exact same situation next year.
Yep.
If if it was left like this. So LSU goes and they get a guy for 2 massive reasons. One, it's a guy that not only will have plenty of eligibility left after Garrett Nussmeier leaves next year,
Yep.
but also a guy that if Garrett Nussmeier is injured, can easily come in and take the reins because he's had plenty of experience this past season.
He's been thrown in the fire before in the exact same situation. And then he can see, once Garrett Nussmeier exit the stage, you're thinking, okay, Michael Van Buren, here we go. And I like that idea. After what I saw out of Michael Van Buren this year, give him 1 year to grow, and then he's your guy. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. Zach, he was the biggest surprise to me. He really was. The next one is another position of need. Of course, you needed edges. You landed Jamari Butler. You landed Jack Pyburn from Florida, another guy with 3 years of experience starting this year for Florida. Zach, I don't know if y'all I don't know if y'all watch film on this guy but whenever a recruit hits, I'm not one of the portal gives sometimes, and then the portal sometimes gives you somebody and it ain't it.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to act like when someone hits in the portal, it's like, bro, we just got the best player in the world. Like every time you land a player in the portal, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't trust that enough anymore because we've had enough misses. I don't trust just the hype all the time. Okay. So I'm not saying every single one of these players is just going to be it. Like they're going to be the greatest player.
They're all going to hit. Yeah.
Right. They're all going to be hits. Now, I think what you're seeing LSU do is they're getting guys with lots of experience, lots of starting experience
in the
Power Four. So I think they will be instant impact players. I do believe they will. And I'm not saying Jack Pyburn isn't. Here's my point in saying that is I don't trust just the hype around the portal anymore. So I go and I look for myself. I want to see his stats. I want to see his film.
Yeah.
Jack Pyburn, from what I've seen, is not going to be a guy who will get after the quarterback. And
he's a run stuffer.
Right. He's not going to be a guy like Braden Swinson or Harold Perkins, who's putting up umpteen sacks. He's not. But when you go watch his film, he's not a big stat stuffer. You watch the film, the dude will stop the stinking run. He's going to set the edge. He's going to shoot gaps, and he's going to stuff the run multiple times this year. Multiple times. When it was a shortage, like 3rd and short, 4th and short, 3rd and 4th goal to go, they had Jack Pyburn in, and there were multiple times when Jack Pyburn made the play. Multiple times. There was multiple times when he was coming off the edge and met a pulling guard and blocker and absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah.
He is one of these little like one of these psycho players that want to take your head off. He is like a Whit Weeks type of mentality.
Yeah, he does kind of remind me a lot like Whit Weeks. Just different position, but
this white guy psycho, right? That wants to
white guy psycho.
He gives that vibe. So not a stat stuffer, don't look at Jack Pyburn and go, this guy's about to get us umpteen sacks. Not going to happen. He's going to be in to shut the run down, and we need that. We need that. By the way, you go watch his film. Watch what Jack Pyburn does to Marcel Reed when they run the read option. LSU couldn't stop it this year. Jack Pyburn was able to stop it. And they beat A&M, right? They beat Marcel Reed and A&M. So I like the addition because we need a run stuffing type. Again, there's more players we're after for defensive end. I think there's more players that you can get for situational things. If it's short and fourth and short, third and short, you're probably going to see Jack Pyburn out there. And I like him. Zach, here's the last edition, the seventh portal edition was this one was the other surprise to me. When he hit the portal, you look at his stats, you watch his film, you're like, okay, this is a guy you want. An underrated recruit who has excelled at Virginia Tech. Excelled. He has started all 3 seasons. All 3. He was a starter as a freshman at Virginia Tech. All 3 years he started. Mansour Delane is coming into LSU as a 4th-year player and the number 2 ranked DB in the portal. When I saw him hit the portal, I'm like, you got to go get this guy. You need to go get this guy. But I never saw anything, Zach. I never saw that he was having a visit. I never saw that he was – in fact, I saw that Ole Miss was getting a visit, and they were the team that was projected to land him. And so when today I opened up Twitter and saw that it was Mansour Delane that picked LSU, I was like, what the heck happened? Like, when did this visit happen? But I'm sure glad it happened whenever it did. I'm sure glad it happened. Zach, your DB room, holy cow.
So far.
Holy cow. Your DB room. I mean, from the last few years.
Oh, dramatically
this
better.
Year, holy Jakeem Stewart was the number 3 rated DB in his class. He's a number 3 rated DB in this portal. He's committed.
You mean Jakeem Jackson?
Did I say Stewart again?
Yeah.
I'm used to saying Jakeem.
Yeah.
Jakeem Jackson.
Yeah.
You're bringing back a 3rd-year Ashton Stamps. You're bringing back P.J. Woodland. You just signed the number 1 DB in the country in DJ Pickett. And on top of that, you've also got Mansour Delane, who is an elite player and ranked the number 2 DB in the portal. So you've landed the number 2 and number 3 DBs in the portal. You signed the number 1 DB in the country. You're bringing back Ashton Stamps, bringing back P.J. Woodland, and you signed the number 1 DB in the state of Louisiana. Yep. Your DB room is going to be far better than it's been the entire time at LSU. The first year, you hit, okay? You hit on Makai Garner.
Brandon Reese pointed out, plus Aiden Andy.
Yes, that's what the number 1 DB in Louisiana, Andy. I mean, your DB room is going to be really stinking good. I mean, you hit on Makai Garner. You hit on Jarrett Bernard-Converse your first year. Buddy.
After that, buddy, you didn't hit on nothing.
These
Not
guys,
a dang one.
Look, Jakeem Jackson, Zach. So Mansour started all 3 years, even as a freshman.
Yeah.
Jakeem Jackson started at Florida as a freshman. By the end of his year, he was starting. He began this year as a starter, had some injuries, put him out. But he's a guy who as a freshman, was starting as an SEC DB his freshman year. This DB room is going to be vastly improved, and I'm very excited about it. So LSU, as we sit right now, is the number 1 team in the transfer portal. They've landed, Zach, instant impact guys. In my opinion, I'm right now, if we had to cut the portal off, now I want a safety and I want defensive tackle. But Zach, if we had to cut the portal off, I'd be happy. I mean, I would be thrilled.
It's pretty good so far. But they're
And guess what?
probably, let's be honest, they're probably only halfway there.
You've got 7. Okay, they were saying Brian Kelly was like saying a dozen.
I think you end up with more than a dozen, to be honest.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I mean, as of right now, Zach, we're very much in the mix of Nick Anderson. We've had him on a visit.
Yeah.
Seems like things went really, really well. Another huge Zach. He is the second ranked, I believe, wide receiver in the portal. I think only Eric Singleton is ahead of him, the Georgia Tech receiver.
Yeah.
So if you land him, your wide receiver room, goodness gracious.
Yeah. Which we'll have to see, because right now it's a battle between LSU and A&M. Yeah, it just is.
Nick Anderson hasn't made his way to A&M yet, and I think LSU doesn't want him to make his way.
I know. I'm just talking about
but that is you're right.
Insiders are saying it's between A&M
absolutely
and LSU. So we'll see. Reagan, I wanted to point out. So obviously there was at the beginning of all this, there was huge concern because LSU had lost. Was just losing. Like, I mean, we remember it happening last week, just losing players to the portal constantly. Like, it just seemed like every other minute you checked your phone, LSU was losing somebody to the transfer portal. And now you're starting to see everything swing.
That's right.
In LSU's direction. And here's the big thing. I know obviously it has to be played out on the field and everything that that these transfer portal players, what they do in, this upcoming season is going to determine, the outlook, the ending outlook on this. But there is only one LSU transfer, meaning one guy that has left LSU that is ranked higher than some of the transfers that LSU has received, and that's Deshaun Womack. He is the only exception.
Yeah.
Every other transfer portal player that you have received, that LSU has received, is ranked higher in the transfer portal rankings than every single one that has gone out except for Deshaun Womack. That's the only player. Which I understand, obviously, that was one that obviously a lot of people, it hurt, right? We didn't want to see him go, but we kind of understood it as well. CJ Daniels obviously was another.
That's the biggest surprise. That was the biggest surprise.
Was a huge surprise, but and let's see what happens. He'll be between Auburn and Ole Miss. Once he commits, he'll also be one of those players that, is one of those guys that's a little bit higher than some of the ones you've received. But he hasn't committed yet. Let's see what happens.
But you got to think about position, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the receivers you've landed in the portal are ranked higher than
That's correct. That's correct. So, like, if you look at the position, then you've landed – I mean, if you land Nick Anderson, you've already landed Barian Brown, who is technically ranked higher than CJ Daniels in the transfer portal. If you land Nick Anderson, well, Nick Anderson is not only ranked higher than CJ Daniels, Nick Anderson's ranked higher than Barian Brown.
Yep.
So different, build of a wide receiver than Barian Brown is. Obviously, Nick Anderson is a extremely tall 6'4" wide receiver. Barian Brown, 6'1", obviously has the dynamic skill set in the return game. So different type receiver there. But if you land Nick Anderson, you're talking 2 receivers that you've added that per the recruiting rankings, the transfer portal rankings, are better than what you lost. So when you look at everything that has happened, you have gotten better. Now, Deshaun Womack right now, let me tell you exactly. I just saw his name. Let me make sure I don't miss him.
Yeah. I know he's in the top 100.
Yes. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Sorry for the delay. Number 35 overall.
Yeah.
Number 35 overall as an edge player. which obviously LSU landed Jimmy Butler. Deshaun Womack is ranked higher than Jimmy Butler. And I think isn't that the only edge that LSU's gotten so far?
Pyburn's ranked higher than him, probably. I think Pyburn's ranked higher than Deshaun.
Pyburn. Let me see. Let's see. I don't think Pyburn is ranked higher than him, to be honest with you.
Earlier, I thought when I looked at it, I thought he was.
Let's go check. Sorry for the delay. I know this is terrible for the audio podcast, so sorry for the delay. But either way, my point being, Reagan, that there was so much, in my opinion, overreaction to all of the players leaving the program instead of just waiting to see what LSU was going to get in return. And the result is you're getting a better crop of players coming in than you have going out. You're making profit. You're making a profit, right? At least as it looks on paper, you're making a profit.
Were you looking at 247 or were you looking at
on three?
Okay, 247 has Deshaun at 71, Pyburn at 41, or excuse me, not 41, 45.
Okay, so 247 has Pyburn ranked higher,
about 30, almost 30 slots.
Yeah, than
Deshaun.
Now Deshaun on here is 35 on three. Yeah. Pyburn, I haven't even seen him yet.
Well, I mean, it's fine.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. But again, you're getting a better crop coming in than you are that's going out. So
overall, certainly. Yeah.
Correct. So
and by position, maybe Deshaun, according to the rankings, right? According to the rankings, Deshaun may be higher than Pyburn. 247 has Pyburn well higher than Deshaun. Maybe On Three has Pyburn lower. But
they have Pyburn at 87. I just found it. Jack Pyburn's at 87. So they do have Deshaun Womack rated higher. So per On Three, you haven't, landed a better edge coming in than you do going out. Per 247, you have. So matter of opinion there.
You also have to consider Deshaun, his first season didn't play much. His second season, I think he dealt with an injury this year a little bit, but again, was very, was scarce. I mean, his time on the field was scarce.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a bit of a question mark. Whereas I think what you're getting with Jamari and Pyburn.
That's true.
Jamari is a 6-year guy. Pyburn is a 4th-year guy coming in.
Yeah.
So there's experience. So you're trading experience right now for upside.
That's true.
So maybe Deshaun's upside's a little bit higher.
So far, what you've lost in wide receiver, you have gained better than what you lost. You've gained more than what you lost. Again, this is all on paper, per On Three, per 247, whoever you're looking at wide receiver, you're on the plus side.
Yeah.
At cornerback, you're on the plus side. At quarterback, you're on the plus side.
Yeah.
At tight end, well, obviously you're on the plus side there as well. I know people would say, "Oh, Mason Taylor," but let's not look at Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor went into the draft, right? You lost Kamorian Pimpton to the transfer portal. You gained Bauer Sharp. So again, plus side.
Yeah.
So what you really need to land, and we can kind of get into this now, Reagan, in our Christmas wish list.
Yes.
So for all you LSU fans, you can shoot in the comments. What is your Christmas wish list? You can, mention obviously specific positions. I think we all have certain positions, probably the same position that we want to see. But you can also mention specific players that are in the portal, where they're coming out of, all that good stuff. Jason Baker is in here, Reagan. We do need to hit a few comments. While I know
Sure,
we've been going for 40 minutes already. Jason Baker said offensive line and safety definitely a need. Yeah, we'll see. I haven't heard anything offensive on as far as offensive line. We have seen a
Yeah.
lot.
Offensive line, you're projected to get Braylon Moore from
Well, yeah, correct.
the center.
You're projected to get
starter.
Braylon Moore, but haven't really seen a whole lot outside of Braylon Moore. You know, we haven't really seen a lot as far as interior or the tackle spots. I haven't seen anything as far as that goes. Obviously, Braylon Moore being the only one, and I think that's probably because they want to bring in an experienced center that can start for you, and then you can kick out DJ Chester to one of those guard spots. So we'll see what LSU does there. And then obviously the biggest position of need is safety. And then I think in both of our opinions, Reagan, defensive tackle. You need to go out and get another proven, experienced defensive tackle to go alongside Guillory. So anyways, Reagan, let's see what else these guys said. Yeah. Brennan Reese said, imagine if they put 6'3" CJ Jim Coyley and 6'4" Pickett at safety. Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. Brennan Reese said getting Anderson, who is 6'4", to put on the outside against shorter corners would be a huge pickup. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are kind of expecting news about Nick Anderson to, probably come before the end of the week, I would assume.
Near future.
So Christmas may be coming early again at the wide receiver spot.
Yes.
And Brandon Reese said we need the defensive tackle from Texas, which I know you mentioned today, Reagan.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. What are LSU's biggest needs? Maybe what is a want for you, Reagan, as far as maybe not just a specific player, but a position that you want to see where LSU can pick up, but also some specific players maybe that are in the portal that you just got to have, Reagan.
Obviously, I mean, we kind of mentioned them. The two more than anybody was defensive tackle and safety, and you've yet to land a D tackle, a safety.
Yeah.
Now there is some discussion out there that Mansour Delane could play safety. That supposedly probably would have been playing safety at Virginia Tech, but out of necessity had to play DB. There is actually another Virginia Tech safety in the portal. I believe his name is Mose Phillips. Virginia Tech has put out some good DBs here lately. And Phillips is one that the reason Delane, people were kind of hot on Delane to Ole Miss is because Phillips has been hot to Ole Miss. So people were thinking that the two Virginia Tech secondary players were headed to Ole Miss. LSU said, pump the brakes on that. So I would love to see us get Phillips. Maybe Delane jumps back there to safety. I'm not sure. Another guy they've looked at, Zach, is Zachariah Poyser from Jackson State, one of the top safeties in the portal. We've had him in for a visit. We'll see. There's some other teams that are in on Zachariah as well. So I really, really, really think more than anything is safety is the biggest need. Here's the problem with defensive tackles, Zach. Here's the problem. There's not a lot of really, really good defensive tackles in the portal right now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot in the portal. Jaheim, Otis was the biggest defensive tackle to enter the portal. He's committed to Colorado now, as of just a few moments ago. Everybody expected him to go to Colorado. He's headed to Colorado. So, I mean, outside of that, yes, Brandon Reese mentioned the defensive tackle from Texas. Doesn't have a lot of experience, but he has the build you want for a defensive tackle. Also, Bo Davis is on your staff. His name's Sadir Mitchell. That's a guy I look at and I go, okay, that's a guy you could bring in the program and, try and build on him and bring more depth to the defensive tackle position. But you certainly need to go locate some big dudes to play in the middle of that defense on that line. But Zach, I'll be honest with you, there's not many. There's not many in the portal that are just elite, big name, big production type defensive tackles right now in the portal. That could change, obviously, but we'll see. I think LSU would be in on that on Sadir Mitchell. The offensive line, I don't think. I know Brandon mentioned the 3 or 4. I don't think we're landing 3 or 4 offensive line. I think the 2
maybe 1 or 2 at the most.
I think 2 is max. I think you land Braylon Moore to be the anchor,
and then maybe one more,
maybe a guard. I think they're pretty confident in Weston Davis and Tyree
Adams,
to be your next tackles. They're very, very high on the 2 of them. And then, of course, DJ Chester has a whole year of experience now starting. So you kick him out to guard and you don't put the pressure of being a safety on him. I like him. The only other question would be the other guard. Paul Mabinga got thrown into the fire a little bit. Now, he certainly struggled, but that doesn't mean he can't grow this offseason.
He did get better.
And got exactly
season went
better
on
as he played. Got better as he played, and of course can grow. And he's a true freshman this year.
Yeah,
I mean, thrown to the fire like that, true freshman. That's not easy to do. So, but I think they are. I think they're confident in Weston and Tyree to kind of secure the edge for Garrett Nussmeier next year. Braylon Moore to kind of be the centerpiece quarterback of the offensive line, and then DJ Chester. Maybe you go add a guard. We'll see. But Zachariah Poyser, I want him. I would love to land him for safety, and maybe Mose Phillips as well. Those are kind of the top guy because I think safety is the most absolute need for the portal. One of those 2 guys would be really nice.
Yep. There is some defensive linemen in the portal. As far as that you could be in on, obviously the defensive tackle from Texas, but the ones that are also currently in the portal, you have Lee Hunter that entered from UCF, David Blay, who has played in Louisiana at Louisiana Tech, also in the portal. Both those guys are 4 stars coming out of the portal. I don't know if LSU has contacted them or not, but those are other options at defensive line. But we just haven't seen a whole lot of movement there.
Right.
So we'll see maybe here in the next few days who LSU gets in on, who could be a potential visit to LSU. So I think as far as defensive line goes, that's still a wait and see type situation. Safety, obviously, you missed out on Dylan Thieneman, who was the best safety in the portal going to Oregon. I mean, you can't blame them. They probably paid him, a big bag. I can imagine it. I mean, it's Oregon. That's what they're doing. And so there is still, as you mentioned, Zachariah Poyser, but some other players that are in the portal, Reagan. You have Genesis Smith coming out of Arizona. You have Kendall Daniels coming out of Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's another one. That is another one.
Yeah, and that's
I haven't seen anything about that, but
I like Kendall Daniels. He's out of Oklahoma State. I have no clue what he's going to do. I don't think there's been any predictions as far as a potential team where he could land. But I really like Kendall Daniels. I have no clue if LSU has reached out to Kendall Daniels or anything like that. But a guy that I am really high on. Obviously, Genesis Smith is the second. He's the highest rated available transfer portal safety right now. Dylan Thieneman obviously was the highest rated safety. So there's as you mentioned, there's a ton of different players. Zachariah Poyser is one that LSU is in on. They're going to have to do battle with Georgia and Auburn for Zachariah. So great name, by the way. Just
Zachariah.
My wife calls me Zachariah, so for all of our listeners, that's why. Anyways, but yeah, Reagan, I would personally. I know that there's a lot of people that are saying that it feels like LSU is satisfied or okay with where they are at on the offensive line. I would really like for LSU to look at and heavily pursue a veteran, experienced, and as far as talented interior offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Because that's where you struggled the most this year on the offensive line. Was up the middle.
Yeah.
And honestly, Reagan, to be completely honest, I wouldn't mind them going after a tackle as well. I know they like what they have right now, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But what happens if the product doesn't translate to the field next year? Then you're left with a lot of really talented and skillful players at wide receiver and net running back with Caden Durham and obviously Harlan Berry coming in. We'll see obviously what Caleb Jackson does. Garrett Nussmeier returning. You have so many weapons. You got to keep Garrett Nussmeier upright. I mean, shoot, if we were talking about the offensive line that you had this year, next year, I'd be going, I would predict LSU to be in the playoffs right now. With the mass exodus that you have on the offensive line after this year, it is concerning to me that it could be a huge issue in 2026. I'm not saying, or excuse me, 2025. I'm not saying it's going to be, but it is a concern of mine. You've got the players, you've got the skill players to go and make a run at the playoff next year. Are you going to have the offensive line ready to protect Garrett Nussmeier and to be able to use those weapons? Because we saw what it looked like this year once you lost Garrett Dellinger, and it was rough, really rough, especially up the middle. And now you're going to, with what you have up the middle, that's returning, right? And that was where you had the issues. But not only that, but you're losing two, NFL draft picks and a first-round pick and a, maybe first-round, maybe second-round pick in Emory Jones. You're losing those guys. Yeah. And you're going to be replacing them with guys that haven't had as much experience. So, for me, I think you've got to go and pursue. Now, I said earlier, I think LSU probably lands at 2 offensive linemen. But for me, I would prefer it to be closer to 3 or 4. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't predict that to happen. But personally, that is just my opinion. I would like a little bit more relief there if you had some really experienced, talented guys coming in. You've got some talented guys, obviously. Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, those guys, they have high ceilings, but the experience isn't there. Yeah. So think about when you go on the road to Clemson, game 1.
Yeah.
How is that offensive line? How is the offensive line as it looks right now? Let's just say Braylon. Let's just say you land Braylon Moore. You got Braylon Moore. Let's just say Mabanga and Chester at the guards, and Tyree Adams and Weston Davis are at the ends at tackle.
Right.
Sure, the upside looks great, but you're talking about first game on the road against what I assume will be a top 10 team. That is a massive ask for a young, inexperienced offensive line to perform. Because you got to win that game. I mean, we are in a day and age where you can lose that game and LSU will be fine. Like they could, obviously do great in SEC play and still make the playoffs. But I don't know about you, Reagan, but I do not want to watch another dead gum season opener loss. And
please, Lord.
So I would feel more comfortable, Reagan.
Yeah.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable if LSU were to go and get some guys in the portal that are more experienced and that are talented, but more experienced than the guys you currently have on the offensive line. That's my personal opinion. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. If they do, awesome. I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah. Maybe you land 1-2 here in this portal window. You go through spring and see where you're at, right? You'll have a whole spring,
And that's
slew of
definitely an option.
spring practices. You'll get to see them in a game, spring practice, spring game, and then you can go, we need another one, and hit the spring portal window and find one there. So we'll see. We'll see.
But what will be available in that portal? Who knows?
Right. You don't know. We'll see. Zach, as far as defensive tackle, my last comment on it, there again, Jaheim Otis was the premier guy. You mentioned a couple other guys. There's some other guys that have popped that I'm like, okay, they have the build for it, and I think it would be awesome. Keyshawn Silver from Kentucky is a big one, but LSU hasn't been mentioned with him at all. Jamal Jarrett, who has kind of had a little bit of little playing time at Georgia, is another one with a big build, big frame, got that size for a defensive tackle. Another guy, you could bring in and build around, kind of like Sadir Mitchell. Not a lot of experience, but a lot of those defensive tackles are like guys you're like, man, they've got the build for it, but the experience and whatnot is not there like some of the other portal players we've landed.
Yeah.
So we'll see with that. All right. I think, Zach, we need to hit a quick break, come back, and we will wrap this show up with the last thing. We'll give you a quick recap on the latest for the basketball teams. But, man, it's fun talking about the transfer portal. It's fun.
It is fun.
LSU's hot right now. And, Zach, I don't think they're going to slow down. I think there's going to be some more. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk about hoops right after this. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Right back at it here in the Tigers Avenue show to wrap things up. Hoops, Zach. Kind of winding down the non-conference schedule. Got a couple games left before SEC play hits. The girls get a W against Louisiana Lafayette. But, however, the men's team falls short against SMU in a neutral site game. It was a great opportunity for a quad.
It was basically a home game for SMU.
I mean, it was in Frisco, Texas, basically. But, it was a good opportunity for a quad one win for LSU. You played what really stinks, Zach, is you played really well in the first half. You go into the half with a 6-point lead. You were feeling good, and you came out in the second half, and you just shot yourself in the foot. I mean, 13 turnovers in the second half, 2 of 8 from the 3-point line in the second half. Just you couldn't. It felt like hold on to the ball for anything. You couldn't make a clean pass. It was just. It was a rough second half. I think if we played that game again, LSU could win that game. But man, you just really hurt yourself in the second half with the amount of turnovers that you committed. You just can't do that, and it cost them the game. Now the score was this game was a lot closer than a 10-point game. Okay, the end of the game with a bunch of fouling extended the lead. Right, you're playing the foul game, trying to stay in it, but it was a lot closer than a 10-point game. I mean, LSU, I think, had got it up to, there was like a 13-point deficit. I think we had cut it to like 4 or 3 at one point.
Yeah.
So it was a much closer game than what the score reflects. The free throws at the end of the game obviously extend that. But it was a tough loss for the Tigers because that was your best, non-conference game left on the schedule and an opportunity for a quad one win against an ACC, Power 6 opponent in basketball. And look, now you got three non-conference games left before January, and the SEC schedule starts with Vanderbilt. They're 3 really bad teams.
Yep.
They're just not good.
You
Stetson,
should be able to win all 3 of these games.
right. You got Stetson tomorrow night, then you got New Orleans, and then you got Mississippi Valley. It's you better not lose one of these games, or it's going to hurt you really bad. Now, this loss, your 2 losses, when you're in terms of your resume, these are 2 quality losses, if you will. So, in terms of when we're talking about the non-conference schedule for basketball, you're just thinking, okay, how is this resume building? Right. And then we're going to get into conference play. Well, you're looking at potentially being 11-2, right? You better win these last 3 games. 11-2 with 2 quality losses, 2 quad 1 losses. And then you head into SEC play. If you go 500, that means you got to 20 wins. Maybe you're a bubble team. Okay. It's going to be really stinking hard to go 500 in this SEC.
Yeah, it really is.
It's going to be a freaking gauntlet. So we're
like
going to
last year you went 500, but that was a SEC.
It was a different SEC.
That was completely.
I mean, it was a different SEC. I'm scared this year. I think this is the best team that you've had under Matt McMahon, but I don't know if they can go 500 in the SEC.
Yeah, just because how deep it is.
Losing Jalen Reed was brutal. Was a brutal loss.
Yeah.
And the other night that showed some, with that 7'2" center that they had, who was a big dude. Damian Collins, he's 6'10", but he's not a bang in the paint center. He's this high flyer.
And he's lean.
Athletic. And so, man, he's
not a super physical, tough down in the paint guy.
That guy was posting up. He was getting bullied a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be something the Tigers are going to have to figure out. You don't have Jalen Reed. He was a big, strong, 6'10", solid guy. You don't have him. It's tough. So we'll see, Zach. I think you finish 11-2, and if you can win 10, 11 games somehow in the SEC conference play, I think you're in the tournament. In this SEC, you're in the tournament. If you go 500, just because of how good it is, maybe you can slip in. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be really hard to go 500, though.
I have some crazy news, by the way.
Crazy news. Let's hear it. Do we just have another pop?
Clemson just took a receiver out of the transfer portal.
Oh, yes. I did see that.
That's crazy.
Of all teams.
Southeastern Missouri, not like it matters, but
Little Simo.
Yes. Also, TJ Finley has decided where he's going to play for the 5th straight year. Going to Tulane. LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, Tulane.
That's just not a fun. I don't see how that's fun. I don't see how that's enjoyable at all. Anyways, I hate the way things have gone for him, but
congrats to TJ on his 5th team in 5 years.
Hopefully this will work out. Maybe this will work out for him. I do hope the best for him.
Also, have you seen Justin Jefferson in the all white?
It's clean, dude. Those uniforms are clean.
Yeah, man.
The unis are clean. Man, how about LSU? LSU's been popping in the NFL.
Reagan. Oh, we should say this. We should say we'll probably have a show also before the bowl game.
Absolutely.
But a little bit of a leak today on what Baylor is going to be wearing in the bowl game. Yellow, white, green.
Yep.
So obviously LSU will not be wearing their white jerseys if the post is true.
Right.
Reagan, I agree with you. I think LSU should do 3 different colors, but I disagree on the variation. I think LSU should counter with white, purple, yellow because Baylor is wearing a yellow helmet.
Yeah.
But
I just don't like white helmet with yellow pants. I just can't do it. I don't know if I would like that.
Yeah, but it's going to clash. But I do agree the yellow, purple, white is a better look. It is a better look. Yeah. But I'm just saying I think
it is a yellow helmet.
I think they should go white, purple, yellow if they're going to be different because Baylor's
also like every stinking body's doing script helmets now. Everybody. Okay. Y'all, the Gators had it first. Okay. Let the Gators keep it. The
State's
Gators
got it now.
The Gators look the best with it. Okay. As much as I hate Florida, I love the Gators helmet. I love it. I think it's a great helmet. They had the script Gators first. Quit like Maryland did it, State did it, Texas A&M did it this year with their Aggies. Like everybody,
Kentucky did it.
Everybody's stinking doing a script.
Everybody,
helmet. Like be original. Now Baylor is doing a script helmet. Be original. Do something else.
Reagan. Last thing, we might have some big news coming for the Tigers Avenue here soon.
Absolutely.
So, all those listening, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. There's some updated stuff coming. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. We'll do a big announcement for that. Excited about that. All right, we're about 8 minutes over, but that's okay. I love talking about the transfer portal because Zach, one thing we didn't stinking mention, Brian Kelly's backing up what he said. He's going to be very aggressive in the portal, but he's also putting his money where his mouth is, to use his own words. He's giving up to $1 million of his own stinking money, of his own money. You can't tell me Brian Kelly isn't bought into this program. The dude wants to stinking win. And we quickly forget, Zach, this is the second $1 million he's donated to LSU. He donated $1 million his first year at LSU to finish the training facility. So Brian Kelly's bought into winning a national championship. That's what he came here to do. Okay. He was comfortable at Notre Dame. Very comfortable. Most winningest coach in their program's history. Okay.
He's going to do whatever he needs to do to the best of his ability with what he is resourced with.
He's going to do everything he can to win a national.
And that's why he made the statements that he made to the public.
We're taking receipts. We'll see you in the national championship. I love it. He's like, I'd rather that than just some more lame excuses.
Boring coach speak.
Absolutely. All right. So Brian Kelly's bought in, and he's backing it up right now. He really is. And maybe, just maybe, Zach, not paying Bryce Underwood and Jakeem Stewart and Cade Phillips a butt ton of money for a player who's never played college football.
Works out for you next season.
Works out for you this season for the portal. Maybe, just maybe.
Yep.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all being in here. It's been a great show. Maybe more news, great news to come for the Tigers. I think there is in the transfer portal. We'll obviously be looking forward to that, and we'll update you on it the next time we have a show here in the Tigers Avenue. We'll see you next time. 5 Star here. Take us out. Peace.
Who that 5 star?